Attention bands, by the way. This is the part where you really need to pay attention.
Yep.
This is a very special guest, so perk up.
All right, here is Ryan. He said it, so I'm going to say it anyways. The program director at 97.7 WQLZ, and he is on the show. Ryan, how are you?
Good, and you got my last name correct, which
nailed it.
Is amazing. I grew up in Ohio. You can see the Italy flag behind me. Grew up in Ohio with a bunch of other Italian families in my small little town on Lake Erie, and the amount of times my last name was mispronounced was unbelievable. So anytime somebody comes on and does it correctly the first time, I'm always impressed. So well done.
Thank you.
Great.
I'm done. I'm out.
He got an accolade. He got a compliment. He's out.
No, Kevin, you're the other radio guy, so I figure you take the lead on this, at least to kick us off.
Well, first introduce yourself, Ryan. Let them know where you're at, what you do, all of that, and then we'll dig into the nice dirty shit.
There we go. I do mornings here on 97.7 QLZ. My 2-year anniversary was actually just like last week, so I was here for a little over 2 years. I've done radio for almost 18, if you include college. I'm a Packers fan. Grew up in Ohio as a Packers fan. The initial goal for me was to be a sports writer for the Green Bay Press-Gazette. Went to college in Green Bay, did radio for 3 weeks, and decided this would be the path for me moving forward. So I've been in Wisconsin a couple of times. Been a program director at a couple other stations. One in Wausau, Wisconsin, WIHN just up the road in Bloomington, Illinois, and then here in Springfield for about 2 years. So I do mornings here. I run the station. I'm our music director. I handle most of our website work for our cluster of stations. I do a bunch of the promotions, social media, imaging, writing, producing, voicing stuff. Pretty much anything in the radio industry, I've done it, which is why I'm excited that Matt and I have been chatting about good ways for bands to reach out to us, because I don't know if when bands reach out, I don't know if they realize how many jobs a lot of us on the programming side are kind of juggling at the moment. There's like 20,000 less, I think, programming jobs than there were like 20 years ago in radio. So like the amount of things that we're juggling at the moment is a lot, which might be changing here in the next couple of weeks. We'll see how things go. We're doing a merger with another radio company, and I might be able to focus more on the QLZ aspect of stuff. And I also do play-by-play for high school football. So that was
nice.
Got picked up this year. Did about 8 years ago in Minnesota, and hadn't done it about 7 or 8 years. Came here, and one guy left and took that over for our news talk station this year. So a little bit of everything. But the music and some of the features and stuff I do in the morning, that's the highlight of my day is doing a lot of the music stuff.
That's one thing I don't think people realize about radio work anymore. You're not just a DJ. No. Like when I was there, we had a cluster of 6 stations. I was on 3 of them and was the promotions director and commercials and all of that. So you get pulled in several different directions when you're with in the radio. So let's dig into it a little bit. So let's go to the nuts and bolts first thing. So if you're in a band and you want to submit a song to you or for radio airplay, what are some of the best do's and what are the absolute don'ts?
So the bare minimum, tell me who you are, who your band is, where you're from. Those are the 3, like the 3 minimum things. And I've had bands that have emailed that have done none of those, which is interesting. Like I had that when I was in Wausau a couple of times. A few bands had emailed and they said, "Hey Ryan, we got new music coming out." And that was really all they said. And I'm like, I don't know who you are. Like I have no idea who you are. And you email back, "Hi, that's cool. Could you tell me who you are, please?" So that's the biggest thing. That's basically what you're taught in English in any writing course, the five W's and the how. Like, that's the minimum thing is that, and at least I know we talked a little bit, whatever song you're submitting, tell me what the song is. Let me know. Is it out yet? Do you have a release date for it? Because I will not play anything on the air if it's not released anywhere yet. If I don't have your permission to play it early, I'm not going to play it until I've got permission. So if it's not out, tell me when it's coming out. If you have an EPK, send that. That's got photos, bios, links to your social media, links to Spotify, Apple, whatever, YouTube, whatever you use mainly, whatever I can go find your music on. If I want to dive in more,
don't go too much further on that. On the EPK, I got a question for you. So in the old days, it was an EPK, it was a PDF. You emailed the PDF, and it had clickable links inside the PDF. Now you have electronic EPKs where it's on the website. What do you prefer?
I mean, either if you have a website that says, hey, all of our stuff is here. Here's the website where everything's at. That's fine. You can link that. If you got a PDF, I'll check it out as well. If it's, to me, that's extra. Like a lot of bands don't even do that. A lot of bands don't send an EPK or anything, or a lot of them will put a website or whatnot, but usually an EPK doesn't happen very often. I don't know if bands don't know that to put one together, or if they don't think to send that. I had a guy in Wausau that he was like afraid to attach his music to the initial email because he's like, I don't know if that's too forward. He's like, what do you think? And I said, no, I would rather have your song right away than email you back and say, hey, could you please attach the song for me? So it's like, don't feel like you're being impolite or being too forward by attaching your song. Please attach the song, either in MP3 or WAV format.
I was going to say that one of my pet peeves is when someone emails you a track that's unreleased and they're asking you to check out their new track and they haven't sent it you. How are we supposed to listen to it?
I think that's also too, like, whether, like, obviously we're talking about bands here, but like even we deal with this for us, like getting stuff out to our audience, right? You want to make it as absolute frictionless as possible, right? If I got to click, if they have to click, like a program director has to click one more click, that might be the thing that stops them from getting to your music or going to, you may see, I'm busy, I don't want to go to your website. Like, put it all up front as you can, right? Would you agree with that?
I mean, yeah, if you can put anything you can put up front is great. I'm a little bit different where if you're like, hey, if here's more info on our website here, I'll click it. But I'm searching for new music a lot too. So I'm a little bit different, I think, than other people. Also, if you're a new band, you're already behind on a lot of stuff because there's so many stations across the country that don't want to embrace new stuff. It's just kind of how it is.
That was one of the questions I wanted to ask. You brought it up there, so let kind of go into it now. And Kevin, help us out here too. But it's like, what is there an unspoken rule in radio sometimes that we don't play anything new, or if we do, we have to get permission from some secret cabal that says that this is playable? Or are there still stations out there like yours that will have a program director or a DJ or maybe someone even uses those old thing called phones and calls in and says, hey, check this band out, that you as the guy that works there can fall in love with the song and actually put it into rotation? How does that work in 2025?
So for me, like the artist spotlight feature I do every single morning, 8:30, that's whatever I want to play. That's anything. If I like it, basically to get that on the air, if my ears like it, I play it. If it's a little too heavy for 8:30 in the morning, maybe I put on our Saturday night show that we do as well. Like right now, I share music logs with another station in the company. So him and I work together. Like we've got research that we can see for how certain new music in our market does. That's kind of the biggest thing is we can, actually having research behind, like say, hey, I can see Bad Omens has the top scoring song right here. It's likely going into power. So I think a combination of that, and if you actually program a rock station, you should probably be passionate about the format because listeners can tell pretty easily if you're not. You need to use your own brain when you're putting stuff into rotation. Like I think you need to have a nice mix of what is familiar to people. Like right now we've got Papa Roach, Shinedown, Linkin Park, we've got a lot of stuff. We also have bands like Velvet Chains who are getting spun like 20 some times a week right now in Sub Power. That's an unsigned band. We've got Pistols at Dawn, that put out good music. So it's trying to find the balance of what's familiar because you do have a large listening audience and its age ranges all over the place. And also trying to find that next crop of bands. Like I interviewed Noah Sebastian in 2019 from Bad Omens, and I don't know how many people jumped on the chance to do that. Then I was out of radio for about a year and a half. My station got flipped. I came here, and Bad Omens had like the top played song in 2022. So it's sometimes it's a crap shoot for what happens. Some stations are told this is what you're playing, this is your playlist, here's what you do. We don't. Like I like having research, which is nice. You can see scores on what's doing well in your market, but you also need to have like a brain. You also need to feel what you're playing. Like you need to be like, sometimes you just have a feeling about a song being like, I think this is going to go somewhere. Let's plug it in and let's see how it does.
Yeah.
Well, and that gives your station a personality, right? Yeah. Like, you know what I'm saying? It gives it a personality to the listener.
Yeah. Like this morning we're playing, the new Nothing More track. I'm not playing the radio edit. Granted, there's certain words we still can't say because of the FCC and whatnot, but I'm not I'm not playing the 4-minute version that takes out Eric screaming. I'm playing the album version as much as we can. And I mentioned that this morning. You had a listener go, "Thank you for not playing like some of the edited stuff." Like we had a version of Breaking Benjamin's Red Cold River when I was here that was I think the Aurora version of it. Found the album version, put it in, and people email you about it. So like if you embrace, what people want to hear, obviously again, there's certain words we can't say, which kind of sucks sometimes. It's more sucks because of the, the songs and whatever. I don't need to swear on the air that much, but it sucks more for the songs. But every station's got to find its own personality. You can't be a carbon copy of everybody else. You just can't. Like what I do here in the Midwest should not be the same as what they do on the East Coast and the West Coast. The Midwest has its own vibe. The Midwest is embracing the hard hitting stuff. Like I know Russ with them in Etched in Embers, like I enjoyed Happy Song. I enjoyed Good Friends, but for me, this is more the vibe that I enjoy from them, the harder hitting stuff that's coming at me. And I think it's a Midwest thing. So you got to have, your station has to have we're personalities on the air. Your station should also be a personality.
Yeah. It's like here at the Sound, what I try and do is I like to have that eclectic mix of, we've got to play the big boys. We've got to, because that's what people are familiar with. But I love finding and chucking in that one little gem I love Kevin going, never heard of them. But what I like to do as well is I like to reflect the 4 of our tastes into our station.
Time out. I want to respond to a comment real quick before I lose it. South Dakota needs a good station. Stephanie, South Dakota has a great station. It's called the Sound 228. It's the internet. You can listen to it anywhere in the United States and the UK. Just letting you know.
That's how you plug it.
Yes.
Yeah, but I like to reflect a bit of our musical personalities into our station so that the listeners can hear what we love as people.
And we've had there's a guy commented on the Instagram post that you guys made, and he listens to us every single day just outside of Detroit because he's like, I don't enjoy the station here anymore because they're just copy and paste station, at least to him. I haven't checked it out to see what they're doing. It's a rather massive station in the area where he's from. So, and it's a heritage station. So I don't have anything bad to say about it, but he's like, you guys embrace new stuff. We played Moon Fever like a little bit. We played Moon Fever a little bit more now. But a guy in North Carolina found us because Moon Fever, I think, shared something that we either had him on the air spotlight or got him in a rotation. And he now listens to us every single day in North Carolina because we played Moon Fever. We have a lady down in Louisiana because I played an Echo track and I played a Nate Vickers song and everything else. And she streams now every single day. So like you can listen, like you guys, people can listen to you anywhere. And I know, if you're in a market where the station isn't doing what you hope, I mean, there's stuff out there. Like, radio has embraced, the best thing radio has done is embrace the 5,000 different ways you can listen to us, whether it's smart speakers, apps, website, streaming, whatever it is. It's one of the best things that it does. I'm going to agree with Melissa. Yeah. Northeast Ohio, kind of where I'm originally from. Yeah. I would say it needs a good station back. So when it comes to music,
and you talk about going back to the station having its own attitude or whatever. One thing that I hear a lot, and it's because I talk with people here that are programmers with other stations that are down here, and I talk to them about some of the bands that we play and stuff like, oh yeah, well I'll check with my consultant and see what they say. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that's probably the cringiest thing I hear out of somebody from radio, that I'll check with my consultant. It's just, why the fuck do you need to check with a consultant? Listen to it. If you like it, play it.
Yeah. Kevin, what would they mean by consultant? Would they mean someone else at the station, or do they mean like a third party?
No, stations actually pay consultants that do all the research and look at all the numbers and all of that kind of stuff. And they have meetings once a week or every other week with the consultants of, hey, this is a new song coming out. It'll do really well in your market and things like that.
That's madness.
Crazy.
Yeah. I don't understand that.
That's corporate radio.
Yeah.
Who's listening to that shit?
Well, I get data is good, like to a certain degree, but like you said, if it sounds good, maybe you're the early guy, right? You're the early station or girl. You're the early one there. There ain't the data there because we're breaking the shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like there's, and you don't mind me jumping in. That to me is still a man. I've worked at stations where they said you don't need to be first, Ryan, because they're going to hear it on streaming first. I'm like, well, I would rather play it first. It's a competition. Like it's a competition. I played sports in high school, intramurals in college. Like I was a competitive person. I still am in a sense where I want to be the person that, if I'm lucky enough, regardless of who the band is, if they're like, we want you to premiere this song, that's awesome to me. That's incredible. I still find a lot of value in that because they're trusting you with it. Like my biggest competitor is streaming. Like there's not another active rock station in the market here. There's a classic rocker, and we don't have a whole lot of overlap. So to me, like streaming is my biggest competitor.
Yeah,
like,
that you're not going to beat streaming as far as speed goes. Like, of course, it's going to be there first, and it's probably going to hit a playlist first. But you don't have to beat it in that sense. You just have to embrace it quickly and then beat the other stations or other. You know what I mean? Like, there's ways to separate yourself.
There is listen
ahead.
to us. Oh, sorry, Kevin.
No, you're good.
Yeah, it's on streaming. We're also playing it. And if you listen to what we're doing, you'll probably find some other stuff that you like. We had a family stop, an event I had back in May, and the dad was a little bit older, and he's like, I like the classic rock station a little bit more. And he pointed to his daughter, who's maybe in high school or just graduated, and he's like, she loves you guys, and she sets an alarm every single morning to hear the artist spotlight at 8:30 because she wants to hear what band's going to be on there next. So like you've got younger people tuning in, doing these things. So you
is
might
that
as well,
is that a one song segment, that artist spotlight? Is that one song in the morning?
Yeah, so it's every single weekday, 8:30. I did it for a little over 2 years in Wausau, and I've done it now. Like next week will be like the 2-year anniversary of it here. So I had 432 different bands on before I repeated one at the end of last year.
Wow.
Made it to that.
I think that kind of work is just so important. Going out and taking a chance on these new artists. Streaming might beat us, at the radio game, but no matter what, people want to hear from the people that they trust with music, right? So if they trust you and they're listening to you on the daily, they know you're not going to present them with something that they shouldn't have their full attention.
Yeah, and
it's so important. I look for it in radio. Like I want to hear, like, is something new? I want to hear it from the people that I trust.
Yeah.
And I mean, I love the fact I get to play. Like I played a band this morning, Chain Saint. The last kid, one of the kids in the band, he's still in high school. The other 3 guys are in college. I interviewed him last week. He's a 17-year-old senior in high school, and I never ever thought I'd interview at this point a senior in high school in a band. But it's like, the younger people are out there. Like you look at the Gals in Plush, like they're all young. Like there's a whole crop of new bands that are out there that are doing a lot of good things. And if we can be the ones that, bring them on in. Like I give Russ a lot of credit. They came out on a Saturday, to do an interview with me in studio on a Saturday. The Girls in Plush came in, hung out. We had like 5 bands come in May and hang out with us. It's an awesome thing when you can play their music and then get the relationship, bring them in, introduce them to your audience that is people. Like it makes the connection so much better. So if you can make those relationships and everything, I mean, it's huge. Like, and our listeners love it. They still remember, like, I remember when you had this band come in. This was great hearing from them. I wish I would have gone to the show. And it's like, yeah, you probably should have gone to the show too, because it was really good later on that night.
Kevin, wasn't that how it used to kind of be? Like it was more that way at CPR when you were there, and probably all of radio in general, pre-digital, pre-Spotify, stuff like that, where you did have to build these relationships with these bands as they came through, and the more kind of in-studio interviews you could get, like what he's talking about with like Plush as they're breaking, then you had that relationship, and if they skyrocketed, you could kind of keep them still coming to your station because they had that connection there.
So I'll give you that's how I kept the relationship with Hinder. That's how I kept the relationship with Rev Theory and 3 Doors Down and things like that we've been able to pull them onto this show because of that kind of stuff. So yeah. And that was fun, is being able to do the stuff like that. And I mean, even that was the one thing that I always did when I was at the station full time, was I did everything I could. I mean, we're on I-10. So we were on the corridor between Florida and Texas. So they were always driving through. And it was always see if we could grab them as they're coming through to stop in the studio or whatever, to build those relationships. And it always pays off when you build those relationships down the road, as long as you treated them well. I mean, I'll give you a Denver Crab story real quick. He used to do afternoons with us. Matchbox 20 driving through I-10. Rob Thomas was on the cover of the Rolling Stone magazine or whatever. Matchbox 20 was listening to CPR as they were rolling through, and Denver's on the air going, man, look at the cover of the Rolling Stone, big fat Rob Thomas and Matchbox 20.
Oh, wow.
Matchbox 20 called the station, and it didn't go well.
It did not go well.
Yeah, and building those relationships is important, especially for these up and comers. Like, there's a few people that will message me. I had someone today actually message me saying, hey, dude, we've got new music coming out. Instantly messaging back saying, do you want the premiere? I didn't even listen to the track because I know it's going to be good. And it's building those relationships so that people like us in the industry will help you move forward. And one of those ways, like, I know Ryan and Lisa's going to agree with me on this. How important is it to you when building relationships, when you artist spotlight a band, that they share it on social media when you tag them, when you're talking about them? What difference does that make to you?
I mean, it's huge because you've taken a whole 30 seconds to either share something or comment or say thank you for it. Like, bands have asked me before, hey, you've done this interview, you play it, what do you want us to do? I said, really, give me a thank you, be appreciative of it, and share it on social media. I'm like, it's that simple. I'm not looking. I don't need. You're not paying me to do this. You're not. I'm not asking you for money. I'm not asking you for just. Be happy about it and share it. And if you can give the station a plug and say thanks, feel free to tag us in it. Because that's how we'll get people coming in and streaming to us. They'll be like, wow, this station took a chance on a band that we know here in whatever state it is. We'll check these guys out. So, I mean, it's huge. I mean, the guys in Shane Saint, and every band's a little bit different. Some will share on Instagram, some on X, some on Facebook. It all depends on the age of the band is what I've kind of noticed.
What's X? I don't know what that is.
Right. We still call it Twitter. But
okay.
My point is a simple share of your artist spotlight or new ads or whatever it is you're doing, like here at the Sound. If someone's out there, I'll give a prime example. Lisa on her ladies' night, she played Gina Marie, which was her first ever radio play ever. She went absolutely nuts over social media about it. I added it that week.
She did.
Because of her engagement on social media with the station. I was like, I'm going to add it.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, if you're two bands that, in my mind, you're pretty similar, talented. I like the song the same. If you make more of an effort, that's what happens. You appreciate the effort more. It's kind of like when it comes back to the emails as well. Like, if I'm interviewing a band, I'm taking at minimum 10 to 15 minutes to look at your socials, get ideas, find interesting things to ask you about. I'm doing my due diligence to find out more about your band, so I don't look like a moron when I'm talking to you. It's the same thing when you reach out to us. Take the effort. It takes 5-10 minutes to construct a nice email. And if you're good enough, you can copy and paste the whole thing, and then you can paste it if you're reaching out to multiple stations, paste it, and then just change the email, just make sure you change the name. I mean, it's, do the template once, have a template, and then it'll be a lot quicker when you go on through.
Right, but just do it properly and take the time to find out who you're actually reaching out to.
Right.
Not dear radio station or just here's my music or sir or madam. No, do your homework because you're asking these people to invest their time, their valuable time in you and take their 10, 15 minutes that they probably really don't have to sit and research you. So you do the same.
Yeah. And it comes down to what you said a minute ago. If you've got two bands that are similar sounding, similar track, really good music. Like for me, if it's a toss up between the two that are going into ads and one's addressed me personally by my name, that one's going for ads.
Yeah. Again, it's the networking, it's the relationships. If you're putting the effort in, like I've told bands that too, like, bands that have put a lot of effort into stuff. It's like, hey, this does not go unnoticed that you're doing this, or, you give us a shout out on this, or, hey, you took the time to, thank us for this. It doesn't go unnoticed. You remember the people that, like, it's really easy, like, to remember people who are assholes. It's also very easy to remember people that put in effort for stuff too.
Yeah,
100%.
I think bands sometimes, in no offense, they're doing a lot of shit. They're trying to get their music out. They're sending a lot of emails, the social media, blah blah blah. But they also forget just how good it feels for I don't know what the term would be, like ancillary things that go about in the music business, whether it be the radio stations that play you or the photographer that comes out to your show and shoots your live concerts. Just any type of those type of people. Tagging them and thanking them on your page, man, means a lot. It really does. I know we feel the same way just with the sound here when they share the live interview that we've done and when we tag them in it, to their page. It means a lot because it helps us get our brand out as well.
Yeah. And
Yeah, for sure. Go ahead, Matt.
Me and Ryan didn't know each other, what, 12 months ago?
So
And
you
18
might
months
have
ago,
worked
maybe?
with me. Yeah, you might have worked with me a little bit when I was in Wausau, and then I was like out in radio for like a year and a half. Just
and
with layoffs and things like that. But
him. I reached out to him for some stuff at Riff, and started building that relationship. And the importance of the relationships and keeping them going. Now we're essentially having a joint radio station podcast because of the relationship that we built between us.
Yeah,
and bands need to do the same.
And some bands, they might just not know how to go about this. Like that's the thing too. Like some bands might know how to go about this. Like maybe you have no idea how to approach a radio station, and like that's fine. That's why like I hope people would tune in, or if anybody has questions, I mean, I don't know if we can give my email or anything out. Like if you're a band, I mean, you can feel free to reach out to me anytime.
Yeah,
I know.
Go ahead and say what it is. I'll put it in the comments.
Yeah, it's just Ryan at WQLZ.com, RYAN at WQLZ.com. Like Robert Cosgrove, who's in Sleep Signals now doing Eyes Like Midnight. The first time I ever interviewed Robert, him and I talked for probably 30 to 40 minutes after the interview. And he had questions about radio and like, hey, how do I go about doing this? How do I go about doing that? And like, if you like bands have questions, like I'm happy to answer them. I'm happy to chat about it because maybe you just don't know how to go about it, and that's fine.
No.
But like if you don't know how to go about things, at least just make sure you're professional about it. Don't tell a Sam, can we send nudes? That's my work email, so let's not do that.
No, he has an OnlyFans for that.
We'll put the OnlyFans in the chat.
I think one of the most important things, though, is just to remember that when you're emailing these people, they are human beings. They're a person just like you. So think about what you would like to see and what you would want to receive, and treat that person the same way. It has to be mutually respectful and the go-between. It's the human element. So just use care, use some common sense,
right?
And if you don't know,
like when
ask someone that you know in the industry.
So
anyone
with us all doing what we do, right? We all listen to a lot of music, and it's something me and Ryan chatted about via Messenger, and I want to bring it up now. We all listen to a lot of up and coming bands. A lot of the big headliners are going now. They're all retiring. This is a question for all of you. Who do you think are the next big thing to break out of the industry? Who wants to go first?
Oh, you talking to all of us?
I'm talking to all of you. Who do you think is the next big thing? Who's the next group of headliners? Who do you think is gonna? Jared, you go first because you've got to shoot.
Yeah. I got to bail out. Ryan, thank you. That was a great conversation, man. I apprate you jumping on with us. I'll just say this before I bail. You're asking.
I know
Matt,
where Jared's going.
Jared.
Go ahead and leave, Jared. I'll answer for you.
I hope it's the boys in Post Profit. That's all I can say. I hope they blow up. That's what I hope. So thank y'all. Look, I have to go. Y'all keep it going, and I'll be in the comments.
Have fun, dude.
Have a good one, Jared. Thank you. Yeah, Jared's got some Mardi Gras duties that he has to take care of tonight. So he'll be in the comments, but he had to bail before Heather got mad at him.
Right. So who do you think the next big artists are going to be? Who do you think the next headliners are at these festivals or even main supports? What do you think is coming out that we should be listening to?
Is it?
Do you want me to go? Or do you want
whoever wants to go? Yeah, Ryan, you go first.
Okay. All right. One you're already seeing is Bad Omens. They're headlining the third night at Rockfest. I think the next wave of bands, it's Nothing More, it's I Prevail, it's Bring Me the Horizon, Motionless in White. Some of these bands that in the last, whether it's 2 to 3 to 5 years. They're finally getting love. I think Fame on Fire is definitely one of those bands. Somebody mentioned Sleep Theory. That like, to me, if you want to see a band that has TikTok was a big thing for them, but radio has actually done a very, very impressive job of embracing them, and radio overall like needs to do more of it. They need to.
Well, I was going to say that like, Sleep Theory is one of the few lately that radio has embraced universally across every platform, and it doesn't happen very often anymore. But them, and then I agreed with Fame on Fire. I think Fame on Fire is one of the unsung heroes right now. They're really pushing out a lot of good shit, and they're not getting the full attention. But as soon as they do, sky's the limit.
They're another band that stopped in studio. They came and hung out in October. I interviewed Brian over the summer, and he's like, "Hey, like if we're coming through your way at all, let me know." And he offered. He said, "Dude, we'll come hang out in the studio. Like we love doing this stuff." And him and Blake came and hung out for like an hour in studio and whatnot, and hung out. And Wage War, who they were on with, I think Wage War, I think headlined Point Fest down in St. Louis. It was them and Bad Omens this year. Wage War's finally being embraced. Like I did a countdown show on QLZ for the first time this year. Granted, it's only been 2 years I've been here, but I wanted to do one. I did our top 97 songs of the year. 9 of the 10 bands that we had, like, were not around in the 90s. Stained was the only band in our top 10 that originated in the 90s. Our top 10 were Fame on Fire. Daughtry was probably the only other one that had been around for a little while, but Nothing More is our top played song. Sleep Theory was 2. I think Wage War was 3. Fame on Fire was, I think, 10. So there's a lot of talent. I mean, there's Bad Omens also sold out. Like Bad Omens sold out their pit passes to Rockfest, I think, in like 12 hours. And Slaughter to Prevail did too.
Fuck that. I wouldn't get anywhere near a pit with Slaughter to Prevail.
Fuck yeah, I'll drag you in it, dude.
I also
you don't want to do the bare knuckles fighting with with
dude,
Alex. You don't want to do that.
How long? It was like 30 seconds or something like that. He knocked dude out.
It
was ridiculous.
Well, I also think I agree with you, Melissa. I think Catch Your Breath is definitely one to watch. I also agree Nothing More, and I also think Spirit Box is another one going to be a future headliner along. And I honestly, at this point right now, I think Bad Omens could potentially headline right now. I Prevail headline right now, but we need to let these legacy acts, they've got to be willing to give up the stage. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like so many of these festivals, it's the same bands over and over and over again. Download finally did something phenomenal this year. Sleep Token is headlining. Fantastic move, in my opinion. Awesome. I think it's time we breathe new life into these headliners, and let's give these up and comers, like the ones who are really swinging for the fences, give them a chance. They're going to bring it. I mean, Bad Omens, their last tour sold out like literally all over the world. What are you waiting for?
Well, we talked about Wage War. Yeah. And that's one thing that I'm going to get to see them in May. I hadn't seen, they played here in Mobile and I didn't get a chance to go see them, but I get to go see them in May, but they're with Stained and with Breaking Benjamin. So I appreciate the Stained and the Breaking Benjamin bringing Wage War out. Because if you look at some of these, I guess what we call legacy acts now, that they're not bringing out these new bands with them.
No.
But Breaking Benjamin a few years back, brought Motionless in White out with them. So you're starting.
They had Catch Your Breath with them back last March.
Yeah, they did, and Daughtry.
Yeah, and I'm gonna go a bit lower down the spectrum of band levels, because Bad Omens can headline a festival easy. Parkway Drive should be headlining most festivals nowadays.
Architects.
Bring Me the Horizon headlined Download when we saw them, and they blew Metallica and Slipknot out of the water
completely.
But I think there's 2 bands in the up and coming scene now. I'm going to pick an American one, and I'm going to pick a UK one, that I think if they get the right traction and they get the right attention, could easily be headlining arenas. And the UK band is Raptors, and the US band is Shallow Side. Hands down.
And what I loved too, like Elias jumping on a track with Shallow Side was huge. I think that's something, again, scheduling music, I don't know how you guys schedule everything, or if artist separation is a big thing for you guys or not. For me, it's always been kind of a little bit of a pet peeve for me, and it's something that I'm debating if I should loosen up on. because we had so many collaborations last year. And it was awesome. I loved it because, again, obviously rap, it's always been a massive thing. And we saw it last year in rock. And Elias jumping on a track with Shallow Side, who's been a very good band, for 5-10 years. They shot up things with Elias jumping on. So I don't know if some of these other bands that have been doing it for a while, if they team up with some of these up and coming bands, do a feature, Hailstorm and I Prevail teaming up together was awesome last year. We just played the latest Blackstone Cherry with Jesse from Killswitch Engage on it for the new Out of Pocket version on it for a while. So Shallow Side to me reached a whole other audience level of a lot of stations that maybe they know Nonpoint, but they didn't know who Shallow Side was. Shallow Side's been good for a while.
Yeah, and on artist separation, it is a pretty pet peeve thing of me, but like Arcade Assembly. So that's Grey Days and Nonpoint, or it's Elias and the lead singer Grey Days. But I listed it as Arcade Assembly with no other else. So the new Grey Days can play on top of that and things like that. But yeah, artist separation for me when we're scheduling this is that pet peeve thing for me too. I'll listen, and I mean, we're automated. It's all done by computer. I mean, we schedule it as far as categories and things like that. But when I hear something, I'm like, how the hell did that happen? And I'll go in there and check, make sure that the artist separation was done and stuff like that. So, but it happens, but
it does. So what's one band? We've got a video lined up for you. What's one band that everyone should be listening to right now?
See, I ask these questions to our audience for I do a different social media question every day, and I ask them sometimes singular things, and it drives them nuts because they're like, we can't choose one. And I was like, I knew this was gonna come back to bite me in the ass.
It took you a while to answer this when I asked you.
I know. I think you and I talked. They're heading to Europe, but
they literally flew out. They literally flew out today.
Yeah, because I mean, I really like the band. The new single, I think it's still a couple of weeks away. I'm excited for it. Barely Human. And then finding out after I interviewed Elise and Oscar back in December that her and I grew up 15 minutes from each other. We had no idea. Had zero idea. She grew up 15 minutes away from me in Ohio. So I'm going to go ahead and somebody who's from my little area in Ohio that never ever thought anybody else in the music industry would be doing anything. So yeah, Lilac. We'll throw them. All right.
Well, we'll play that right now. Triple X is the name of the song. And those of you that are here for the premiere of the two videos, it is coming up. Stay tuned. But right now, there we go. No, I really dig that tune. I think that was I've heard of the band, but I don't know. I couldn't tell you if I'd actually heard previous songs. I know of the band, but that's good stuff.
That was kind of like me up until 3 or 4 months ago, because I was like, I know I've seen the band name. They spell it Lylvc. That way.
Yeah, that doesn't bother me at all.
No, Kevin's got a pet peeve.
I fucking hate when bands do that. I understand why they do it.
So
I truly get it.
Paris and Landmarks. Yeah.
I totally get why they do it. I just fucking hate it.
Mm-hmm.
So
love it.
Yeah, the marketing is the biggest thing for them. But yeah, it's like I know this band from somewhere, and that song was shared with me, and it's like, okay, there again. And it was like, all right, I really like it, and kind of what's coming up from them too. I mean, the video's awesome. The song is this one's kind of got that more kind of Sex Metal Barbie in this moment kind of thing, goth thing kind of going, and upcoming tracks a little bit just more hard hitting and different sounding. So yeah, I'm excited for them. Again, really, and again, they're another one of these bands where shared the interview. They're retweeting it. They're sharing it in their stories. They're interacting with us on stuff. They're going, they're going the extra mile to thank you for taking the time to do this and everything else. So they're another good example of,
it goes a long way. Now, before we have to wrap it up here with you, I've got one last question. If there's one piece of advice that you can give a band when reaching out, talking or interacting with radio or people in the industry, what would it be?
Just be detail oriented. That's probably the biggest thing. Be thorough and be detail oriented, because the little details help. If your song's not out yet, release date helps. Again, if you're the song's not out yet, if I've got to message you back and forth and to find 3-4 pieces of info on it, I would rather just have it in one.
Essentially, don't make us ask questions.
Yeah, I mean, if I've got questions, I'll ask. You know, if I want more info, I'll ask. Like when I reach out to bands, so like doing the Artist Spotlight thing, like we have that sponsor right now. We're making money on it. I have to do the feature every single weekday. So when things, as you all know, things shut down around December-ish into early January, nobody releases anything. I will spend multiple hours on YouTube, Spotify. If stuff pops up and I like it, I'm emailing bands. I'm DMing bands and I'm telling them who I am. This is my title. This is how I found you. Here's our website. Here's this feature I do called the Artist Spotlight. It airs at 8:30 your time. If you're in Sweden, I'm finding out, okay, it's 3:30 p.m. your time. And I'm taking the effort to find out when is it going to air your time. If you're in LA, hey, it's 8:30 for me. It's 6:30 in the morning for you. I'm letting the band know this is what time it will air. So if I'm doing that, I expect the same thing. I expect the same thing back. Just details and be
I
thorough.
agree.
I love it.
Well, thank
Ryan,
you.
thank you so much for joining us. We'd love to have you on again at some time in the future and chat some more and pick your brain about music and stuff like that. So we appreciate you.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. Love to come back. And I know I got to check you guys out a little bit more. I follow you on Facebook. There's probably 15 bands I've grabbed from you guys. I found listed on there where I'll go and email and be like, found you here.
Thank you.
We love
Because
that.
I still want to find, I'm Artist Spotlight or not, if that feature isn't going anywhere, but if it does, I'm still going to find music on my own, to find new bands I enjoy listening to.
Best way to do it.
Yeah. So thank you for having me on. And if you guys ever have bands, if you guys ever want to email me bands or tell me bands to check out,
Already got your email.
feel free.
Already got your email written. You'll have an email from me tomorrow.
Awesome. All right. Sounds good. I love it.
I'll send you his email so you can block him. All right.
There you go.
Perfect. Sounds good. And then I'm going to have to get you probably a new email in about 3 weeks when we do this merge thing and we take over. I'll have to get you a new email here about 3 weeks. But yeah, feel free to reach out.
Absolutely.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate
Ryan.
you, Ryan.